Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to this lesson. We have a few, I think, observers today. Today we're going to be looking at maybe 3 or 4 task 2s. We have an opinion essay, and to what extent do you agree or disagree essay. I have an in-depth video that deals with this type of an essay, which covers all parts of it, which covers the analysis, the brainstorming, the structure, and so on. I recommend that everyone watches that video because an essential part of getting a band 7 for IELTS writing is, analyzing the question, brainstorming your ideas, choosing, an opinion based on the ideas that you are able to generate, and then putting out, a plan for your essay. So that is a big part of IELTS writing, and I really would like to, I really recommend that everyone watches the video. Of course, my YouTube channel is IELTS Writing Prep, so it's YouTube/IELTS Writing Prep. Okay, and the video that I'd like everyone to watch is analyzing, brainstorming, and planning a task 2. So it's a really important video. We have another video which is actually, is it a positive or negative development? Also, that's another type of opinion essay that is very common in the exam. Okay, just before I take a look at the essay itself, I'm just going to quickly go through and through some of the requirements for a band 7, just so that you know what I'm looking for exactly when I'm looking at the essays themselves. I need everyone to be aware exactly what I am looking for. Okay, so here we have the first point, which is essential, is use the correct format. So we need to make sure that we don't have any contractions, informal idioms. We want to avoid phrasal verbs because most of them are informal as well. We want to make sure that we're not using format, for example, asking the reader a lot of questions, because that's we're not really having a dialogue with the reader. We are informing them of things. So we want to make sure, I have a video of course for that format for task 2. If you're not sure about what you can write and what you can't write for IELTS task 2, make sure you watch that on my YouTube channel. Addresses all parts of the task. So address all parts of the task means that every part in the question that you've been asked to address, you have. Okay, sometimes the question asks you for more than one cause, more than one solution. You might say, what are the causes and what are the solutions? Do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? So sometimes you have a number of points that need to be addressed and not just one specific point. Presenting your opinion consistently. Now, this is one of the most difficult things that candidates find, which is having an opinion and sticking with their opinion from top to bottom. Okay, I'm sure we're going to have some contradictions in opinion today, because this is very common, and this is one of the most common reasons why people get 6.5, because inconsistencies in opinions, contradictions in opinions, in the opinion of the writer, limits both task achievement and coherence and cohesion. So this is what we're going to look at. We're going to look at some examples today, and sometimes it takes candidates, 4, 5, 6 essays just to become aware of this, point. Right. Develops main ideas. So when we say develops ideas, we give reasons for why somebody has a specific idea or why we have a specific opinion. Then we have develops ideas equally. So the band descriptors ask that we cover our ideas equally. Okay. So if we have two supporting ideas, to support one idea, we want to do the same for the second idea. Okay. If we have two supporting ideas and two examples, we want to do the same. If we have a concluding sentence for one of them, we want to have a concluding sentence for the other. Okay. I'm just going to switch off your videos, just in case you're not aware. I am actually recording this lesson. I don't always record, but today I'm recording. Then we have finished off with a clear conclusion. So the conclusion is very clear. The position is clear. No inconsistencies there in the conclusion. And we want to make sure that the conclusion isn't just repeating things that we've said in the body. We want to repeat them in a way. We want to rephrase the words that we use in the introduction. And after we want to rephrase the words, in the introduction, our position, and also summarize our ideas without repeating the same vocabulary and same grammatical structures. Okay, so let's take a look at the question we're going to be focusing on today. So if we can just get rid of the videos just so that I can have more space. Excellent. I'm just going to enlarge on that a little bit. Okay. Right. So let's analyze the question before we start. Every year, several languages die out. Okay. Now, this is given to us as a fact here. Okay. So without this, it would be difficult. We wouldn't even be able to deal with the question, because this statement here, or this opinion here, is based on this as a fact. So this is a fact here, and we don't want to agree with it or disagree with it. Every year, several languages die out. And I'm sure, everyone would agree with that, especially if you're from maybe like India or, one of those countries, that you have so many languages, and because of, international languages, many languages are, starting to die out, and people are not using them like they did before. Okay, so this is a fact, and we need to keep that in mind. Now, here what we have is we have an opinion. The opinion is some people think that it's not important. What is not important? That languages are dying out. Why? Because life will be easier if there are fewer languages in the world. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this opinion? So when we're saying this opinion, we're talking about this one here. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the rephrase. People, just before I go to the rephrase, we're going to take a look at what we could do with this question. So here we have, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So what positions could we take? We could totally agree with this opinion, and we could say, yeah, we think that it's not important, and life will be easier if there were fewer languages in the world. All right, we could agree with it, or we could disagree. We could totally disagree and say, no, it is important because of, and we state the reasons why we totally disagree with this. Or we could say, I do, or you could partially agree. So you could say, it's not important, blah, 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 but however, there are a few maybe negatives that will come with this. Okay, so you do agree with them that it's not that important, and maybe life will be easier if if we didn't really have that many languages. Okay, but there are some possible, negatives. Or we could say it is totally negative, but there are a few positives that come with, with languages dying out. So there is not one position you could take or two positions. You could, there are probably like an infinite number of positions that you could take. It's up to you. Okay, you could choose whatever you want to do. Now, the common question is, if I want a band 7, do I need to talk about both sides of the argument, the people who agree and the people who disagree and stuff like that, and present both sides in order for me to get to band 7? And the answer is no. Nothing in the band descriptor says that you have to cover both sides of the argument. And to be honest, it's a lot simpler just to say that you totally agree and give 2 reasons why, or you totally disagree and you give 2 reasons why. And the reason is because when you give a partial agreement, you partially agree or you partially disagree, or you look at 2 sides of the argument, it's very easy to make some kind of contradiction. Because when you're looking at the opposite side of the opinion, you will have to refute it. Because if you're agreeing with the other side of the argument, then that is a problem. That is contradicting your own opinion. So whenever you present an opposite opinion to your own opinion, you will have to refute it. So this is a responsibility that you put on yourself. And there isn't much to gain. Most of you are just happy getting a band 7, and that's all you need to do for task achievement is to present your own opinion. To what extent do you agree? Okay, now if you wanted to go further than that and you were aiming for a band 8, then fair enough. But from my experience correcting papers, and I've corrected a lot of papers, one of the reasons why students are getting a band 6 and 0.5 is because they try an approach that is too complicated and they end up with so many contradictions that they get a 6 for task achievement and they get a 6 for coherence and cohesion, because there are too many contradictions within the essay to be able to get a band 7. So I believe the simplest approach is the best approach for a band 7. If somebody has the language and has the ability and has the skill, then they can go ahead and present 2 sides of the argument and possibly aim for a band 8 or above. Okay, if you just give me 1 second, I'll be with you. Back. Okay, so we're going to try and keep it as simple as possible in order to get a band 7. Now, what is the approach we want to take for the introduction? What we want to do is we want to take the statement that was given to us as a fact, we want to rephrase it, and we also want to rephrase the opinion here. Okay, after we have rephrased the fact and the opinion, then we want to present our opinion about the statement and the opinion that was made. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Here I have people of different countries speak their respective language. So people of different countries speak their respective language. Okay, now nowhere here do I find this, And why am I worried? And why do I worry about people not rephrasing the sentence correctly? Now, because this is to what extent you agree or disagree. When we change the meaning of the statement, it might, when we start to agree or disagree, we might be agreeing or disagreeing with something that wasn't given to us in the question. So we need to avoid changing the meaning of the background statement. It's very important that we keep the meaning the same. So here we have a statement that I don't know where it came from or what the benefit of this statement is. Now, this student is definitely above the word count. It's like probably 300 or more. So there's no worry about the words. Some students, what they like to do is they like to do something that we call a hook. A hook is when you give a fact or something, and you start off the essay to hook the reader, as in we want to hook them with some kind of fact or something, and we want to generate their interest. I don't see how that, generated any interest. People speak their respective language. I don't see how that really hooked me or is going to hook anyone. So I would avoid it, because also I told you there are potential, problems that could happen when we start to give these facts. So a hook could be a fact, could be a quote, a famous quote, could be something like that we use to hook the reader to read the essay. There is no need for a hook. The examiner is going to be hooked, and the examiner is going to be looking very carefully and be analyzing your essay. Okay. But nowadays, it's often seen that few. Okay. Few, by the way, is means not many in number, but what we want. When we say few without a few or something like that, few means that something is not high in number, but it also has a negative connotation. So when I say negative connotation, I mean that it has a negative side to it. If I say there are few good IELTS teachers, it means that they're not enough. There are few, there should be more. It kind of has this negative meaning to it. If I say, oh, there are a few good IELTS teachers, so here it kind of has a more neutral meaning. So just adding a or taking away a kind of changes the whole meaning there. So when we just say there are few something, especially when we want it to be positive, if we want to say something is positive and then we say there are few, then it's giving the opposite meaning. So seeing that, a number of languages. Now here I have several. Now there's a big difference between several and few. So if you start to change the meaning within the background statement and then say you agree with it or you disagree with it, you're disagreeing with something totally different than what the question has given you. So you need to be careful of, like changing the meaning. I would rather repeat the same word in the question or repeat the same word throughout the essay than use a word that has a different meaning or it sounds very strange. Okay, so I put a number of, let's say several. Do we have several here? Several. Several, more than two, but not many. So let's keep it as a number of. I'm not going to say more than two. So here we have a number of languages are not in trend and are losing their existence. So I really did get the feeling that you changed the meaning there, and I wouldn't recommend doing that. Some people think that it's not significant since fewer languages make one's life easy, while others say that it is a matter that should be taken care of. Now, when we take care of something, it means we look after it. Like we take care of a baby, we give them their milk, and we, change their clothes, and So we're not going to say that we take care of a matter here. So we could maybe, should it be taken seriously, possibly, or or something else. So this is just a suggestion here. Now, then I have I personally believe. Now, personally is kind of informal. I would try and stay away from informal things. So I would just put like I believe, that the dying of languages. So we could say the dying of several languages, possibly, or the death maybe of several languages, or maybe the extinction. We didn't have the extinction there, yeah? Okay, dying out, so we could use the extinction maybe of several languages is not so much important. Or maybe, it's not that significant, possibly, yeah? For two reasons. Okay. So you believe that it's not significant. So firstly, few, I said, first of all, it's like something like a negative thing, but here we're saying fewer languages than we have now in the world would lead to. So here we're imagining the situation that there are fewer languages. So we're imagining it and we're saying having fewer languages or fewer languages in the world would lead to negligible, so a tongue twister that word, negligible issues in, what is it? The communication. Let's say communication in general. Just talking about communication in general, not one specific type of communication. So that's that, communication. When people of different geographical locations go to other countries, it's often seen that there's a lot of miscommunication. Okay. Okay, so here we have, firstly, fewer languages would lead to negligible issues in communication. So here we're saying insignificant issues in communication. Now, I highlighted that because usually the first sentence in a body paragraph is what we call a topic sentence, and this kind of sums up the ideas within the body paragraph. So when I saw this, I thought that we're going to talk about these issues and how, these issues are insignificant. So what kind of problems are there in communication and how insignificant these were. Now, but what I saw is kind of the opposite of that. So when people of different geographical locations go to other countries, it's often seen that usually when we start off with a subordinating conjunction or a dependent clause, we put a comma before the independence clause. So when we start off with when, if, and so on, because we usually put a comma before the main clause. It's often seen that there is a lot of miscommunication, and as a result, there's a wrong interpretation of words, and people are not able to express their views. If there, so I think here, I got the feeling that the person was trying to imagine the situation, yeah. So imagine a world where there were, fewer languages. So usually when we're imagining situations, we use the second conditional. So if past simple, would, could, plus an infinitive. So that's usually what we use. So I got the feeling he was trying to use an imaginary situation, so imagining a world with fewer languages. So I put it in the past simple. So if there were fewer languages in the world, for example, if there were only the English and French language, so I had to put the. So we always put the before languages when we say the English language. But if we just put English, yeah, then we don't need the definite article here. And we could put if there were only, English without, language. But here, because we have language, the English language, the French language, and so on. So, If there were only the English and French language, it should be languages, yeah? We have two languages, yeah? Languages in the world. Learning these two languages would. So usually when we're imagining, we use the past simple, we use would not be so difficult. Yeah, as compared to learning more than 10 languages. Now, here, if you've noticed what this writer is doing, is the writer is actually explaining to us how it's not just an insignificant problem, it's actually something positive. Hey, we only have 2 languages and it's really easy and we can just work, you know, we can, I think it's, yeah, we have work in the second body paragraph, and, you know, it's really easy for us to learn, and so on. So it's not telling us that these problems, it would lead to problems or insignificant problems. It's actually telling us that this is something that is positive. Yeah? So when we come back and we look at this topic sentence, fewer languages would lead to insignificant problems. Where are they? You're telling me everything is positive here. So here we have some kind of contradiction. We can't say that there is really, you know, a logical, you know, that logical a progression within the body paragraph. And these are kind of the issues that we have, you know, with those struggling for a band 7. We kind of have, you know, issues between the thesis statement in the introduction and then what we say in the body paragraphs, and what we say in the topic sentence, and then what we say in the body paragraph. There are some kind of contradictions, and these are the type of things that really limit task achievement and coherence and cohesion to a band 6. So even if the grammar is there and the vocab is there, when you have 2 6s and 2 7s, you end up with a 6.5. So that is something. Also, in addition to that, I saw this sentence here. It was just so long. Now, you know, when we're aiming for that band 7, we really want to get that, you know, accuracy there, you know. So here it says, uses a variety of complex structures, produces frequent error-free sentences. Produces frequent error-free sentences. Now, how many people do I have here? Let me engage you guys. Let me engage you guys here. Who do I have? Okay. Show video panel. So I have quite a few people here. Okay. So Munir, when you have very long sentences, Munir, what is the possibility? Do you think the possibility that you're going to get all of the sentence correct higher or lower? What do you think? When you have very long sentences, do you think the possibility of getting the sentence correct is higher or lower? Munir? No? Dr. Saif?
Obviously,
yes,
the chances of the chances of making mistakes are higher.
Definitely higher. Definitely higher. Now, I've worked with a lot of students, and some of the students who I work with, I just say to them this. I say, your sentences, there are too many mistakes in your sentences. Can you make your sentences a little bit shorter? And as soon as they make the sentences a little bit shorter, they get more of the sentences correct, and they get, you know, more of a chance of getting a band 7. So sometimes I don't even work that much with somebody on grammar, but I just say to them, shorten the sentences a bit. Let's see what happens. And most of the time, the outcome is very positive. The outcome is very positive. Because when we say complex sentences, we do not mean complicated sentences. A complex sentence is a sentence with 2 clauses, a dependent clause and an independent clause. We're using them together. You know, we could make sentences with if, because, where, when, You know, these are adverbial clauses. We could make complex sentences by just saying who and which, using a few non-defining relative clauses. And we could use noun clauses very easily by just saying it is believed that, you know, and using clauses after verbs and so on. So it's very easy to throw in those complex sentences, but we do not want sentences that do not finish. And that's, you know, sometimes the problem I have with some students is they just write sentences that just do not end. Now, let's look at this one. If there were fewer languages in the world, for example, if there were only the English and French languages in the world, learning these two languages would not be so difficult as compared to learning more than 10 languages, allowing people to express themselves. Blah, blah, blah. Wow. Now, in English, you cannot really fully understand the sentence that you're reading until you come to a full stop, until you come to the end of the sentence. When you come to the end of the sentence, you're able to make a final judgment about the sentence, you know, what the sentence means. So when you make your sentences that long, the opportunity for mistakes is high. And in addition to that, if you do make some grammatical mistakes, you might lose the meaning or lose what you're trying to express. And also the ability for the person to read, who's reading, to understand them will be a little bit too difficult. You know, it might be too difficult for them to understand your idea since the sentence is so complicated and it's so long. All right. So this is definitely something that I would recommend, that the student reduces the number of, you know, clauses in the sentence, 2-3 clauses maximum, full stop. You know, you'll get more sentences correct. Okay. So as I said, there was some kind of contradiction here, and then we have, therefore, the death of languages should not be a matter of concern, as I believe keeping the languages, you know, I don't know if you're keeping them. Maybe having, I don't know, possibly having fewer languages or something. Let's put an ER there, huh? Having fewer languages in the world would effectively foster communication between people. So here we're saying in the end, we're concluding that, hey, having fewer languages is positive. So we're not talking about it being an issue. It's not an issue. So if we look at the opinion here, we look at the, you know, the topic sentence, and we look at the concluding sentence, you know, it's not going that well together, you know. It's not flowing, you know. When we're looking at band 7, CC, so coherence and cohesion, logically organizes information and ideas. There's a clear progression throughout. So when we say throughout, it means from top to bottom, everything is flowing. When we just say overall, it's like, you know, we could say in general, kind of your ideas are kind of all right, you know. But when we say like throughout, it's like from top to bottom, everything is logically presented. And this is what we're looking for, you know. So that's what we want. Then when we have for band 7, it's a requirement to have a clear progression, a clear position throughout. So here our opinion also needs to be clear from top to bottom. Okay, yeah, so let's move on. I have a few essays to do today. Secondly, having fewer languages in the world, not can, we could say would, allow people to work in any part of the world, irrespective of the language they know. When people migrate to host country, so another country maybe, they are often denied jobs, okay, as they are not able to speak the host country's language. If several languages died out and only several languages were left, then getting a job will become easy, since people, not can, when we're imagining, we're going to say could. So we're going to use, you know, could, we're going to use would and could, you know, so when we're imagining different things. So could learn 1 or 2 languages easily as leftover language. I didn't get that. I didn't get the leftover languages. Are common languages that could be spoken in any part of the world. So here we're talking about why having pure languages is a positive thing. Okay. Right. Now, here we have the languages dying out being a positive thing, yeah? And in the first body paragraph, we have the languages dying out is also a positive thing. Yeah. So two body paragraphs are really telling us how positive, you know, when languages die out, how positive it is. So when we look at the position in the introduction, can we say that this is logically consistent? Dr. Sadaf, what do you think? When you look at the thesis statement in the introduction and you look at the two body paragraphs, what do you think? What could we do to fix this, you know, possibly? The thesis statement. Let's look at the thesis statement. How could we correct this in order to maybe, you know, make it more consistent? Anyone? Misbah?
So there is no opinion whether they are agreeing which side they are taking. Not clear.
Okay, so we have a problem, but let's just fix it. Let's fix it. That's what we're here to do, yeah? We're here to fix stuff. Let's fix it. Fix it, Dr. Sadaf.
I completely agree with the statement.
Okay, but look at the statement, what the statement is saying. We have to be careful here because the statement is saying, let's look at that. They're saying it's not a significant problem, you know, it's not a big problem. You know, here's saying some people think that this is not significant, so it's not a big deal, yeah? Let's take a look at the question itself. Some people think that it's not important because life will be easier, yeah? And here it says, I believe that the dying of is not so much important, you know? So we should, I think the position that he should take should be totally different from both of them. Because he just thinks that language is dying, it's not a problem whatsoever, it's just something that is just 100% positive. So you don't have to agree with either of them, we could just go for a total different opinion. Anyone else has a way of changing the thesis statement, what we could say?
I think she could write that I believe that dying of several languages will have positive consequences.
Yeah, that's enough. I like it. It's positive. Everything is positive. And then we have this first topic sentence. I don't like it. Who can fix it for me? Let's fix this. Anyone? Unmute yourself and, you know, and go for it. Who do I have today?
So we can say firstly, a limited number of languages.
Okay. Okay. So you want to say here we have firstly, Munir.
Limited number of languages in the world, and the rest is some sentence as he's written.
Yeah, we could say something about it being positive, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did he say in the body paragraph? Because here we want to sum up this. We want to sum up this. So it would lead to, you know, less miscommunication. You know, what else would it do? He says something like less miscommunication, allowing people. Yeah. It's not just. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think he can write a fewer language in the world would foster the communication or something like that. He removed negligible issue.
Yeah. So it would foster it. So this is something positive. Yeah, we're keeping it positive here. Yeah. So that would be okay. If we wanted to do maybe a better topic sentence, maybe we could talk about the miscommunication and it being easier upon people because they don't have to learn so many languages. Yeah. So yeah, so we could definitely do something, and we could change this. We could turn this essay around and make it more kind of band 7 worthy. Anyway, here I have something that I'm not that happy with. Although languages reflect not only one's tradition, but also cultural background, and people are very serious about their language they speak, as they feel the sense of unity and so on and so on. So I don't understand what's happening here, because here we're totally changing the topic. And, you know, he's talking about work here. So secondly, so the first one is about the positive consequences, and the second one should be about how it allows people to work. But instead of going with that idea and flowing with that idea, we seem to have changed to talk about tradition. So I can't really see that much of, you know, like a logical, you know, flow of ideas, because you're just mixing two total different ideas. So fair enough, if you're going to support the first idea with another idea that's talking about work and how the idea that it, you know, that this the death of languages is bringing, you know, kind of a positive, having a positive effect on work and, you know, on getting work abroad and so on. Fair enough if we're supporting that, but here we're talking about something totally different. Why didn't this idea, since it's totally different, why didn't it go in another body paragraph? When we look at this and we see what it says here for 6, it says, presents a clear central topic within each body paragraph. Now, the second body paragraph, it started talking about work, and then it moved on to traditions and so on and so on. So I can't really say that there is a central topic there. You know, there was a mix of topics. You know, why? I don't know. That could have been in a separate body paragraph. Fair enough. I really don't recommend 3 body paragraphs. I don't think it's necessary. And now, as you all know, they've just removed the word count from IELTS. I'm sure you all heard about this news. For me, it means absolutely nothing, because if somebody wants a band 7, they do not need to count words. Whenever you're writing supported ideas with examples and so on, you should be in the 300 word count. You should not care about reaching 250 words. Yes, that should not be a problem of yours. You should be thinking about ideas being supported, clarified with examples only. Word count should have no significance whatsoever. Okay, so that's that. I think we have a few things, you know, that we really need to sort out there. In conclusion, having fewer languages in the world not only leads to less communication, but also allow people to work overseas without any language hurdles. Therefore, I believe losing several languages is not too important. And this is what I don't like, because here it says it's not too important. He's talking about losing languages or languages dying out being significant. And then in the end, we talk about it being not important. So when we go back to that TA, you know, list that I had, use the correct format. Okay. Address all parts of the task. Let's say, okay. Present opinion consistently. You know, developed ideas and so on. I'm going to say developed ideas equally. I'm going to say You know, we had like one body paragraph had lots of, you know, different ideas and supporting sentences and examples, and the other didn't. So, you know, I would, you know, I always recommend being careful and trying to keep body paragraphs equal as possible, with equal number of supporting ideas, examples, and so on. Finished off with a clear conclusion. I'm going to say So definitely, you know, you're looking more in the 6 to 6.5 band max, and even like a 6.5 is a bit generous, you know, because we had so many grammatical mistakes. The sentences were so long, and you know, we had some lexical mistakes, and you know, so really that was, you know, like a 6.5 being, you know, very generous there. I'm going to move on. I took quite a lot of time, but I thought it was worth it, because this is a kind of had some very important, like band 6.5 kind of mistakes, and I thought everyone would benefit from. So I took a little bit extra time on that one. Let's move on. Dr. Sif. Okay. It's true that many languages disappear every year. Okay. Okay. Every year, several languages die out. Languages disappear. Okay. And it's believed by some. I like it. It's believed by some. You know, a group of people and, you know, opposers or whatever. I don't know. I see so many strange phrases. I just like that. It's simple. It's nice, to the point. And it's believed by some that there's not a lot of great importance. That it is not of a great importance, as the life of people will be much more easier if there, I'm going to say there were here, if there were fewer languages. We're not going to say less, because less is for uncountable, and language is countable. We can count, you know, 5 languages, 10, 100, and so on. So we're going to say fewer languages in our planets. I think it's planets with an E. Yeah, we're just missing an E there. Okay, I completely disagree with this view. Completely. Okay, guys, whenever you're going to completely agree or completely disagree, you cannot present opinions that are against your own opinion, because you 100% agree or 100% disagree. So this is very important. You can't completely agree or completely disagree and then contradict that with your ideas. Okay, so here he completely disagrees. So now, as a corrector, as the evil corrector I am, I'm going to look for contradictions to that phrase, because that's what I do. Okay, so I completely disagree with this view, because there are several reasons to encourage language diversity in the world. Okay, is this view consistent throughout the essay? Well, as soon as I see the word completely, it raises an alarm. Okay, and I am aware and I am focused. Now, there's another part that I highlighted over, which is several. Now, whenever I put an idea in the introduction, in the thesis statement, I want to see that whatever is put in the thesis statement is explained and is supported. So, if you're going to say several, I want to see you do several. So I want you to see you give me number of reasons, so give me like more than 2 reasons and so on. I don't see why you should, you know, give yourself that kind of responsibility. Avoid words like several and so on, just so that you do not get stuck.
Excuse me, teacher. Can I write, there are some reasons. Is better or?
Is it better? I completely disagree. You could put, I will discuss why, you know, why maybe language diversity should be, you know, encouraged or something like that. I don't think some is not really, you know, that formal, unless you're talking about people. We say some people, other people. You know, avoid some. It's not really the best word to use in an essay. But avoid phrases like that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you just said there are reasons to encourage language diversity, you could put 1 reason, you could put 2, you could put whatever you have, really. Now, is this view consistent? Now, this is what I'm going to be focused on, and I want everyone else to be focused on. Okay. I can't remember. I marked it, you know, a few hours ago, but, you know, we'll just see. Some people would argue that it would be better. Now, he's starting off with some people would argue that. Okay. What does that mean? He's presenting an opposite argument. He's saying some people would argue. So this means he's distancing himself from this. So who can tell me what this means here? He's saying some people. He's presenting an opposite opinion. Anyone? What's this going to mean?
He is not believing that.
He's not
Believing that, and he has to disagree with that at the end.
Yeah, he has to disagree. Okay. I have here. Shaha, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right. What do you think? You know, so he has to disagree with that. So do I have Shaha or something? Why does this writer have to disagree? Why has it become compulsory for this writer to disagree with this opinion that they're introducing? Why is it compulsory to disagree now? Fiza?
Yes, sir, because in the thesis statement, he clearly mentioned that I completely disagree.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So now this has become a responsibility now. Okay, so this is a responsibility. Okay, so this is like marriage. You know, once you write that thesis statement, it's like you've just got married. Okay, that's how I think about it. You know, when I see a thesis statement, that's it. I start to look for contradictions. Okay, so yeah. So we have to disagree now. We have to disagree with that because we say we completely, there is no room for concessions. There's no room for anything. We just have to go against it. Some people would argue that it would be better to have only a few languages, and communication between different people in different countries would become much easier. If language barriers, maybe if language barriers between nations disappeared, if plus past simple when we're imagining, you know, so if language barriers disappeared and people had, yeah, so if plus the past simple, and then we're going to use would in the to talk about the imaginary result. And people had a singular language, international trade would become easy. Capital T, the potential for misunderstanding and misinterpretation is lowered. For example, my cousin lives in Libya and has a business with USA. Sorry, it's not going to say USA. We're going to say US companies. Let's just get rid of that. Okay. So US companies, he found how beneficial it is, it's not a question, yeah, how beneficial it is for him to speak English in order to have a successful business. However, okay, so here Saif is actually kind of refuting the idea because he totally agrees. However, this, I think his argument here kind of spelled a bit messed up. In my view, does not outweigh the benefits we have from language diversity. What's my problem? Who wants to help me? Help me, guys. Help me. What's my problem? What do I have here? Let's see what I have. Munir, Damar,
Yes,
Misbah. What could we do now? Because we have a problem here. We have a problem. So how can we fix it?
I guess he should have stood to his words, stand by to his words that how diversity, language can save diversity in whole paragraph instead of writing only single sentence in the last. He should have expanded in whole paragraph.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else? I'm looking for a quick fix here. I'm looking for a quick fix. Come on, guys. Quick fix. Fix it. Let's look at the thesis statement. I'm looking at the thesis statement. I think, you know, something else could be done here. Let's get it sorted. What can we do? Quran, Saif, Misbah, Damar.
Why he has not mentioned how it outweighs the benefits?
Where hasn't he mentioned?
He has not mentioned how it outweighs the benefits.
Well, I think he's going to do that in the second body paragraph. He's going to do that in the second body paragraph. My problem now.
But he's not giving the reason. He's not giving the reason for the outweigh.
He's going to do the reason, give it in the second body paragraph. That is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But what about the thesis statement?
Just
He says he completely disagrees.
remove completely. Just
Remove completely.
Yeah.
It could be like language diversity is more beneficial than communication. Has more benefits than.
Okay. This is my idea. Okay. This is my idea. It's not related to language, so maybe you might have a better idea than me. But I think that we could put something like, in the opinion, that his opinion that that the language diversity, you know, the benefits of language diversity outweigh in the thesis statement. So you could just put the benefits of language diversity outweigh the benefits from, you know, like communication or whatever it is in the thesis statement. So then we can acknowledge that his cousin is having a good life because he knows English and so on, and life is good for him. We don't have a problem here. But here he completely disagrees with the opinion of life being easily, and then he doesn't say that this is not true. He just states that the benefits of language diversity outweigh communication. So let's stay consistent throughout. Always, I like to bring people back to this list here. Yeah? So here we have presents opinion consistently throughout the essay. Let's stay consistent, guys. Okay. Okay. So some people would argue. Okay. So let's change the thesis statement and just state that we believe that cultural diversity, the benefits outweigh the benefits of communication and blah blah. Let's move on. I believe that there are many reasons. Now here we put many reasons. I would avoid words like that because then we start to, you know, have to come up with many different reasons for things. And I don't think, you know, there's any reason to give ourselves this kind of responsibility. Okay. So let's take a look. There are many reasons why language diversity is important in our life. Firstly, culture and tradition might lose. Say might be lost. Let's say might be lost. I think so. We could say might be lost. Okay, might be lost in the countries where national languages are lost. Might be lost. I don't know. Some kind of strange repetition here. That we need to try and avoid. Anyway, and the identity of people might be lost too. I think we're repeating the verb lose and lost too many times. So we will miss the mixture. I don't think mixture. We could say cultural diversity, cultural maybe variety, possibly something like that. We don't want to say mixture. That we have. That makes humans unique, not creature.
Creature,
yeah. Creatures. Okay, so yeah. So any examples? Because you know the question specifically asks us to give examples. So we don't have any examples of how, you know, what will be lost and stuff like that. Okay, and how it will be lost. And people will not find the difference in that country. Oh, difference spelled wrong. And I think either we're going to put like a cap. I think we have and. We already have and, yeah. So let's just put a full stop instead and start a new sentence. All right. I think they might. I have they here.
Secondly, from secondly.
Where's secondly? Secondly, many countries around the world rely on tourism as a main source of their revenue, and people will not find difference in that country. I think they might suffer from poverty as less tourists. We have a countable noun here, yeah? As fewer tourists. As fewer tourists will go there. Okay, so why will fewer tourists go there? Maybe you could like give a little bit more of an explanation. Maybe we could have an example. And here we have finally. So we have firstly, we have secondly, and now we have finally. Can anyone tell me what my problem might be with this kind of development here? Firstly, secondly, finally. What would my problem be?
So finally should have been started with a new paragraph.
Not necessarily. We can put finally for supporting sentence. That's fine. There's no problem with that. Something else. Anyone have another problem I might have with this?
I think it's difficult to develop your idea and give example with this type of paragraph.
Yeah, that is one problem, because you have 3 supporting ideas and you're going to need 3 examples, or you're going to have like some kind of example that will clarify everything. And I think that's too much, I think that's too difficult. But I have another problem. Let me just put this up and you tell me. You tell me what you think. Anyone?
There will be inequality between the paragraphs, the development of paragraphs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one would be like really developed with like 3 supporting sentences and examples and stuff like that. And the first idea might not be that well developed. So here at a band 6, it says some parts may be more fully covered than others. So some examiners, I'm not saying all examiners are like that, but some examiners, they might see one idea with lots of supporting ideas and examples, and one idea with only one, and they might, interpret this part of the band descriptors as meaning that, one was more covered than the other. Okay, so I always tell people to avoid that and try and keep, body paragraphs similar in number of supporting ideas, examples, and so on, just to avoid any kind of issues there with that. Okay, let's get back to that. Is that one? No? Okay. Finally, the heritage of many countries is written by the original language of language. Okay, I think it's spelling. Okay, of those countries, and it's important to learn from our history to avoid mistakes that our ancestors made. For example, we have a civilian war in Libya, and I think it's beneficial, spelling mistake, to see what our previous generations did to solve. Okay, such problems. We're having the P here. Yeah, we're having that P instead of B problem. Okay, in conclusion, as many languages have been vanishing, spelling, yeah. So I'm just highlighting these things. I want you to be aware of these things, yeah, because you can find these things, you can work on them, yeah. Vanishing each year. I completely agree that every language has its great importance to the globe. Now, my question is this consistent? This conclusion here, is it consistent? Is it consistent? Who wants to tell me? Is this consistent? This conclusion?
I think I want to say that it's important to preserve every language, because every language it's important.
Okay. So you want to say that language diversity is important, but also you do not deny the fact. You do not deny the fact that that it does have some kind of benefits when it comes to communication and so on. Yeah. Like in this body paragraph here.
Yeah.
when you're talking about that. So you don't deny that, yeah. So I think we need to keep, stay consistent from top to bottom. I think you need to try and balance your, like the development. Me personally, I think take a full agreement or full disagreement. Do not bother presenting two sides of the argument. Present your side of the argument. Keep it simple, top to bottom. You should be fine. I think if you complicate it and try and look at two sides of an argument and so on, it's too much, and the possibility that you'll make mistakes is a lot higher.
But teacher, you see some improvement or not? May I say?
I definitely see some improvement. I saw some improvement in the introduction, so I was really happy with that. I'm happy that you are improving. Okay, you are improving. I think even the spelling, even though you still have a lot of spelling mistakes, there's some clear improvement. I'm happy with that. But just you need to, I hope, take notes of the things that I've said. I'm recording this one. I'm going to upload it. By the way, I recorded the last lesson. I don't always record them. I just decide to record the last lesson. So, it might help to, watch some of these lessons again, and just so that you can go over the things that I talked about. Yeah. Okay. I'll try and record more. I think it's a good thing, to record. It just takes quite a lot of time to upload these videos, and that's why, I've been avoiding it. But yeah. Anyway, good job, Saif, and we want to see more improvements, hopefully. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Next one. It is irrefutable that there are thousands of languages across the world. Okay. To be honest, I don't even know how many languages there are in the world. And this is something that I talked about when I said like this hook and so on, mentioning these facts and stuff, I think avoid it. Just rephrase the statement, answer the question. Sometimes I get the feeling that, like, I did it myself, when I was writing essays, you want, the person to read it to be like, wow, this person's amazing, so clever, is so, the truth is in IELTS, this stuff, it won't help you, it won't help you in any way whatsoever. And a lot of the things that we do are more dangerous because, the negatives really outweigh the positives, when we come at looking at, writing hooks and stuff like that. As you've just seen, like with the previous two essays, things can go wrong, things can go wrong. And, something like this, there are thousands of languages, I should know this as a language teacher, how many languages they are, but, to be honest, I don't. So I would avoid making statements, especially if you're not sure if they are true. And here you're like saying it's irrefutable. So, maybe an examiner will like read it and be like, what the hell? I know that's not true, So avoid stuff that you're not sure of and avoid hooks and just rephrase the statements, answer the question, and that's it. But each year, various languages disappear. As I said, yeah, just rephrase the background statement, no need. Now, here we have phrases like a group of people and stuff like that. Please, stick with stuff that's, very regularly used very commonly. Read Band 9 essays written by natives, and you'll find some very common phrases. Natives, when they're looking at papers, they want to feel that the person that is writing is a native. The person that is writing is familiar, is like them, and this is the truth, when I look at a paper and I see somebody who's writing and it's very difficult for me to tell if they are native or not. I know that this person has had so much exposure to the English language and is writing in such a manner that is very close to a native, very, very natural. The selection of words is natural, the selection of phrases is natural, and so on. That's when I just say that this is clearly going to be 7 or above. So if you want to give that kind of vibe, make sure you're reading lots and lots of, like essays from native writers and picking up phrases that they like to use, picking up formal idioms and stuff like that, and that's the way to getting a band 7. Now, a lot of students, they write in a manner that, to be honest, like they put so many formal words in a body paragraph, and it's just like, wow, this is overloaded with formal words, overloaded. And natives, they don't overload the writing with formal words, you know. They like to, you know, flex a few muscles here and there, but it's not like all like loaded with formal words. So, you know, when you do that, you kind of give them the feeling that this person is not native, this person doesn't have an idea how we use language, it doesn't feel familiar to me, and you're not really getting on, you know, in the examiner's good books, you know. So try to pass yourself off as you know, as native as you can, whether it's speaking or writing, and that's the stuff that will give you a good mark. Pick up phrases that are really commonly used, more commonly used by natives. So forget the group of people stuff, and you know, I personally would avoid it. So some believe that this extinction of languages is not a major problem, as it will be more convenient to adopt fewer languages internationally. Therefore, it's like, you know, it's like you're making the decision now. It's like you're making the decision now based on just what you've said here, that you agree or you disagree. I don't think it's a good thing. So just mention state your opinion, as in this is opinion that you have, and not just a new opinion that you have just, you know, like arrived to. I strongly agree with this statement. I shall put forth my arguments before drawing the conclusion. Now, there's no need for any of this. I strongly agree with this statement. That is enough. There's no need to, in this essay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to write a conclusion. Of course you're going to write a conclusion. You know, it wouldn't be an essay without a conclusion. So I don't know, like, where this stuff comes from or where this language comes from. You know, I just avoid it. I don't think it's necessary, and also this stuff is wasting your time. And what I find happen is in the exam paper it says memorized phrases and stuff like that, and a lot of you are memorizing like full statements. And the thing is, when you're marking a paper and every single student is writing exactly the same thing, you know, I've done like mock exams and stuff like that, and I've sat down and I've talked to all of the, you know, asked all of the students, and they've all said the same thing. You ask them a question, you're like, do you think blah, 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 and the answer is this. This is what they answered. Also, oh, that's a very interesting question. I've never thought about that before. And they're trying to buy themselves some time. But the problem is not when one student says it. The problem is when all of the students say it. You're examining like 30 students and all of them are saying exactly the same thing. You know it's a memorized phrase. And at the bottom of the paper, as you all know, you have memorized phrases. And these memorized phrases are not taken into account. So, you know, when you mark in like 30 papers and all of them have the same thing, in this essay, I will do followed by a logical conclusion or whatever. You know that this stuff is just something that they've memorized and they're just trying to pass off. So these full like statements and sentences and whatever, you know, I would, you know, avoid them. You know, I would avoid them. To begin with, having fewer languages would be beneficial in several ways. I don't like the word several. Firstly, it would, because we're imagining, yeah? It would be helpful in decreasing the communication barriers among the different countries. Okay, any of my students who can tell me what I think the problem is? I kind of spent quite a long time talking about this in the last lesson, and now I see it again. Anyone? Anyone? I think this student wasn't here in the last lesson, but I recorded it, so they should have watched it. Who was here? Dr. Seth, you were here. What's my problem with this?
The communication.
Sorry?
the communication. It's better remove that.
No, I'm talking about this sentence that's highlighted here.
Yeah.
The
comma after
Should
which?
I add one?
The comma?
Sir, the sentence cannot be completed. Sentences.
Yeah, the sentence is not complete.
Cannot be started.
Yes, sir. Sir, with the word which, sentence cannot be completed because it's a dependent clause and it should need an independent clause.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is the language that I like to hear. Dependent clause, independent clause. That's the stuff that makes me excited. You know? As teachers, we have a boring life, you guys. Yeah, that's the stuff that I like to hear. Which, yeah. So here we have, an dependent clause. So we could put comma, which in results would accelerate new dimensions of studies, employment, immigration, and trade as well. Okay. For instance, my brother got the grips on. I'm not sure I got the grips on here. Sure how we could replace that, but anyway, I'm not happy with this. Got the grips on. Maybe I got a control over advanced level of English. Got control over advanced level of English. I can't think of anything. I'm going to continue. I don't want to take too long on this. Level of English made easier for him to expand his textile business. Okay. So her brother kind of reached an advanced level of English, and this made it easier for him to expand his textile business in English countries such as England and Canada. Okay, so this really helped to bridge the gap here, yeah, between the two. Consequently, he became a great entrepreneur of the region at a younger age. Thus, it depicts, maybe this depicts how crucial it is to bridge the communication gap. I like this. I like it. Okay, so here we're bridging the gap. So here we're using some kind, let's keep it pink, yeah. By making proficient use of a single language worldwide. So this is an example of how having fewer languages, maybe like the English language, could help with that. Okay. Yeah, just one thing really to focus on is I don't think there was mention of having like one language, So here we're talking about fewer languages, So I don't think it's just like really focused on having just one language. Okay. Secondly, this trend will cut down social and cultural discrimination among tribes and races. For example, developing countries such as in Pakistan, people consider language as the status symbol. Okay, so subsequently people show, we can't say people shows, we have to say people show, yeah? Yeah. Remarkable social, cultural, and religious discrimination owing to the large number of local languages spoken in different areas. Okay, so here we're having some kind of social discrimination because there are different languages and people are respected or not respected according to the language that they speak. Okay, so here she's saying that, so if there, if there were, maybe we could say if there were, we could maybe imagine that there's one. So maybe we could say something like if there were a particular international language, this stereotypical thinking could be controlled. Besides, it might help bringing equality between people. Now here it says besides, so it's like in addition to what we've just said, as if this is like a total different idea. I think this goes exactly with this. So we could say, thus as a result or as a consequence, it might help bring social equality. So let's put thus here, or therefore, or whatever, yeah? Thus, it might help bring equality among people. To conclude, in my opinion, fewer languages always help to improve communication. Improve, let's say, improve. I'm going to say the communication process, the process, in all aspects, and foster unity between people across the world, as well as enhance prosperity to individuals and societies. Now, I did like bring up points here and there with this essay, but I like this essay a little bit more, even though I did have some problems with it, because this essay was one of those essays that, you know, she took like one position that, you know, having fewer languages is positive, and she stayed with this from top to bottom. We had the same idea that this is something that is positive. Okay, so this is more of a, you know, from a task achievement and a coherence and cohesion point of view, it is better, a lot more consistent, and so. Okay. Now, I'm going to come back here to the first body paragraph. To begin with, having fewer languages would be beneficial in several ways. So here we're talking about how language is beneficial, and here we're talking about how language is beneficial. So I don't really see how this topic sentence did her any justice here. Okay, so maybe as a thesis statement, we could say that having fewer languages would be beneficial in several ways, but in this body paragraph here, it doesn't really seem to serve any purpose. Okay, also we started off with firstly, which gives us the idea that we're going to have like maybe 2 or 3 different supporting ideas, and there was only one. There was one supporting idea here. Okay, so that is something related to coherence and cohesion, how well the ideas are presented in a logical manner. Okay, so here I have, you know, firstly, and here I have secondly. Okay, so of course, you know, we have some kind of issue here with, you know, with these linkers. Okay. Right, so that is, I'm kind of happy with that. We've had a few issues with, you know, like grammar and vocabulary and so on, but it was a lot better than the previous 2. Okay, what's the time? We've done like an hour and a half. How many have I done? I've done 3, yeah? Okay, I'm gonna stop for a Q&A. I'm gonna let you guys ask me some questions. Any questions? Questions, guys? Fiza, any questions?
Sir, can you kindly tell me how much band like my essay deserves? I just want to know.
Okay, I did like it, as in for task achievement. I would, you know, I don't have a problem with task achievement because you stayed kind of consistent somehow. But because of like faulty kind of like topic sentence and like linkers and so on, I think it would be a little bit difficult to give to give a band 7 for coherence and cohesion. So definitely that would be 6. Okay. LR, I can give a 7 for that. But GRA, I think there were too many mistakes. So overall, it is in the 6.5. So I think definitely, Misbah, take a look at grammatical mistakes and stuff like that you are making, and also issues with like things like topic sentences. Make sure your topic sentence is kind of,
Yeah. Sir,
yeah.
one thing more I want to ask.
Yes.
Is it, apart from the linkers and topic sentence issue, is it sufficient if I present this way? Like, if we clearly mention that we are strongly agree or disagree, so we have to mention 2 points, right?
Yeah, 2 points, and then you support your 2 points. Either support with 2 reasons in each body paragraph, or support with 1 reason and develop it very well in each of the body paragraphs. That is sufficient for a band 7. I like the approach. I think it's simpler, it's a lot better, and I think you have more chance getting a band 7 with an approach like that. You have the vocabulary, definitely. I think you still have, a few phrases that you need to pick up more, phrases from native language, from natives, and as I said, you're going to have to work a little bit on your grammar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, sir.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Seth.
Okay. Can you mark my assignment?
Which one? Sorry.
The last one, my assignment. Mark, give me the grade.
Grade. Okay. Is this yours? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as Dr. Seth, whenever I see any kind of inconsistency, I always give 2 6s for TA and CC. So, like, if there are consistencies, then I have to give that. Now, if you see, like, even like the amount, even though you have you seem to have good, vocabulary, but with the amount of spelling mistakes, it becomes difficult to give a 7. So you have a lot of spelling mistakes. Maybe some of them are typos. I'm not sure if they're typos or not. But the spelling mistakes, there are too many for a 7. You need to make fewer. And also, still, even we do have like a few too many articles and stuff like that there. Please become aware of the things that I'm bringing to your attention, as in spelling and articles and collocations as well. Like important in our life instead of to our life. Different things that I'm bringing up here and there. Take a look at them, and you can ask me as well if you have any uncertainty as to why things are how they are. Even though I don't want you to be discouraged, Saif. I don't want you to be discouraged. I could just give you a higher mark, but I want you to to work harder. I do see improvement, but to move from a straight 6 all the way from 6 to a 7, it is a jump, because there is a big difference between a 6 and a 7. A 6 and a 6.5 and a 7, it's a bit closer. It's kind of just polishing. But when we're moving from a 6 to a 7, we do have to make kind of a transition. It's a bit, the jump is a bit bigger than just a 6.5. Okay, but continue to work. I'm happy, you are making clear progress. You still have my page even when the course is finished, and you have my Facebook. You know, continue to write questions and communicate
Thank
with your studies. Yeah. Tamer has his hand up. Tamer.
Yes,
Tamer.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm asking about is it better to put more than one idea per paragraph or putting two ideas
Okay.
for
Of
body
course.
paragraph?
Yeah, it is better to put two ideas per body paragraph. But when you put two ideas, we want to see two examples as well. Also, when I see two supporting ideas for one body paragraph, I want to see two supporting ideas for the second body paragraph. If you have it, flaunt it, as we say. So if you have the ability to give two supporting ideas and two examples for both of the body paragraphs, go ahead. You know, flex your language muscles, and you know, hopefully you'll do well. But you know, the advice I give differs from one student to another. When I have students who make so many grammatical mistakes and lexical mistakes, sometimes I say to them, you know what, don't write too much because you have too many lexical and grammatical mistakes. Keep it short, and let's hope that you can get your sentences correct and, you know, like grammar in right. Munir, question? Yes.
So I want to ask that, for example, in the first body paragraph we say firstly, in the second paragraph we say secondly. Then can we say in the last that lastly it can be concluded that? Can we say so?
In the conclusion?
Yes, sir.
No, in the conclusion is not a body paragraph. We use lastly. Lastly is the linker for a body paragraph, not for a conclusion. If you say lastly, okay, it means you do not have a conclusion. Please watch the video that I have about conclusions. I talk about all the common mistakes in conclusions there. Yes. Who else? Any questions? No hands. No hands. No hands. Ah, I have some hands. Karan, yeah? Karan, yeah? Karan.
Yeah, hi.
Yep, hi.
I've seen a few of the essays written by few writers. So, in an argument essay, like either you agree or disagree, in the uh, in the starting para, they don't give their opinion. They say like some people say this, other people say this. They say, and in three body paragraphs. Two body paragraphs they tell what they agree, and in the third body paragraph they say on the other hand, like the argument they do. And in conclusion, they give their opinion. This is also
you mean two body paragraphs, and in the conclusion they introduce their opinion, yeah?
Yeah, they make three body paragraphs. First two body paragraphs, what the side they agree, and on the third body paragraph, they write on the other hand, and they
okay.
Opposite viewpoint. And in the conclusion, they tell what they agree or disagree.
Okay. That means they have two body paragraphs. The conclusion isn't counted as a body paragraph. It's a conclusion. Okay. Yes. I know some examiners, they don't have a problem with this. Okay. But some examiners, they believe that the opinion of the writer should be clear in the body of the text. So it means in the body of the text, the opinion should have been presented. And some of the examiners, they give a band 5 for a person who doesn't clearly state within the body of the text what their opinion or what position is. Okay. So what I usually recommend is that students, they totally agree with one of the sides, and then they present one side, and in the second body paragraph they say others, including myself, believe that or argue that, blah blah blah. That way we clearly have a presentation of 3 of the opinions within the body of the text, and we avoid getting a band 5 for task achievement. And I'm saying this because different examiners, they have different opinions about this. And when you go to the exam, you do not know who's going to be correcting your paper. So I always go for the safer approach. And I think that is including your opinion within the body of text.
Okay.
I have an article on my blog. Let's take a look at my blog. Where's my blog? I have an article on my blog which is the easiest way to introduce your. You see that picture there? Looking good, huh? We have the easiest way of introducing our opinion. What's that? Boost your lexical. I'm not sure where it is. Where is it? It's task 2. The simplest way to include your opinion in a discuss both views and give your opinion essay. So I have an article here, and it tells you how to easily introduce your opinion without, writing it in the conclusion. Okay. Any more questions? Dr. Saif, Misbah.
Yeah, no.
No?
No, no question.
Dr. Sadaf.
No, sir.
Tamer. Tamer. Yep.
I have a confusion from putting my opinion in introduction of my essay and my conclusion. Is it okay?
I have no problem. I think writing your opinion in the introduction is a good thing.
So no problem. It will be okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I recommend it. I recommend putting, your opinion there. Yeah, I have a video here for to what extent. I have one for a positive and negative development. I also have a video that talks about all types of essays and how you could, present your idea in a very simple manner, which is called question types. Question types 2. Yeah, it's a very simple video, and it just gives you ideas how you can put your idea, how you can respond to different types of questions. Yeah, very simple one called question types number 2. Okay, watch that, and it'll give you, a simple way of answering different types of questions. Yes. Any more questions, guys?
Sir, I have a question.
Who's I? Fiza? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Go on, Fiza.
Sir, if we start first body paragraph with the linkers to begin with, so can we start the next body paragraph with secondly?
Yeah, you can. Fiza, some examiners, they see that writing firstly and then secondly in the second body paragraph, they see these as very simple linkers, and a lot of them don't like to give a band 7 if you're using very simple linkers like firstly and secondly and stuff like that. So I think if you're aiming for a band 7, it would be better to write a topic sentence to summarize what is in the body paragraph in the first sentence. That will kind of get you a higher mark than writing firstly and secondly and so on.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yes, Tamer.
Last question for me. I am asking a lot of questions today.
Okay.
Is it good? Is it good for to go for one state of opinion for accepting, or partial is good? You understand what I mean?
Yes. Okay. I kind of talked about this, but I think that the easiest way for a band 7, okay, is just to totally agree with one of with you know the statement, or totally disagree. Okay, if you totally agree or you totally disagree, all you need to do is to give 2 reasons why you totally agree or why you totally disagree. That way, what you know, there'll be less room for contradictions and for confusion. Okay, if you partially agree and partially disagree, you have to balance a number of ideas within the body paragraphs, and you know, you have to balance the idea in the introduction, in the body paragraphs, and in the conclusion. And I just see personally that there's more room for contradictions if you partially agree. So I think it's a lot easier just to fully agree with the statements or fully disagree with the statements, or to say something is fully positive or to say something is fully negative. I think it's a lot easier for you, you know, to write. But if you fully agree or if you fully disagree, then that means that you have to have 2 reasons to support your full agreement or full disagreement. So if you do not have the reasons, then you will not be able to fully agree or fully disagree. You will have to take a partial stance. So look at your ideas. If you have ideas to support a full agreement or a full disagreement, then take that position. It is a lot easier. Okay, Thamar?
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Any more questions, guys? Any more questions?
No, sir.
No. Who didn't I do their paper today? It was
Sir,
Miss
mine.
Priya.
Yes.
It was you. And Dr. Sadaf.
So mine also.
Oh
Mine
yeah,
and Ben's
Munina.
also.
I don't know how I didn't notice yours. I don't know how I didn't notice it. Anyway,
No, sir, it's okay.
okay. I will send you a message regarding your essays on the WhatsApp group. Okay. Okay, everyone. I'm going to bring this lesson to an end since there are no more questions. And thank you again for coming to, you know, for joining us. We will be starting a new course next Sunday, so if anyone's interested, they can join. I know that sometimes some students have an exam, you know, halfway within the course or after 3 weeks. It is possible just to pay for 2 weeks or 3 weeks if that is what you want to do. Okay, everyone, that's it for today. I'll see you all for the rest of the group another day, God willing. Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you.